All right, so in this workflow, we'll start by fetching a product from our Shopify store, and then we will check first if it needs context. And let me just try and start the workflow here. So basically, we'll check if it needs context. For example, if it does it have data, does it have a description, or product attributes. And if it does not have it, we'll use OpenAI to do product research of this product. So it's actually able to search the web, so it can search, and in this case we'll use it to search information about our product, and this information it's going to use in a later step for the product description to write a product description based on that context. So it can take a while, and in my test it can also become a little bit expensive if it does multiple web searches. So sometimes it does like 5 or 6 web searches, and if you use an expensive model, for example, the newest GPT-5, it can become quite expensive. And in some of my tests, it costs like almost 50 cents per run. And in this workflow, we have several calls to an LLM. So one full run can potentially become very expensive, especially with the search here. Sometimes it will have errors. I've experienced that sometimes it doesn't really understand how to, take the query into the API calls. But most of the time it does work, but that's something I will need to fix. All right, now that it's done with the web search, it's gonna merge some data and pass it over to OpenAI. So again, we use actually OpenAI to check the existing description if it conforms with our requirements. And if it does not, we're gonna prompt the LLM to write a description. And so it's going to write the description based on our requirements that we put into the prompt, but it's actually also going to do an internal link to a relevant product in this example. So I actually hooked into a tool which allows it to search for products on our store. After it's done that, it's going to prompt the LLM again to test if the link works that it got from the search products. And if it does, it's going to pass it to Google Sheets. So you can see here now we have a description that's ready, and we have we have a link here that you can see here, and then it's gonna continue to write a title tag. You see here it actually also written a title tag already. So for the title tag, it basically checks the title tag if there's an existing title tag and what length it is. It's gonna set a counter because we want to make sure that it has a correct length for the title tag. Then it's gonna write the title tag with the context from a previous step, increment, and then check the length. If the title tag is not within the length that we specify, it's actually going to increment this counter and then do it again until it gets the correct length. So you can see here it was correct, and it passed it over to Google Sheets. And I see the meta description is also ready. So then it's going to go over here, check if the product that we fetch in the first step has a meta description, and if it's within the correct length. Then it's gonna set a counter, write the meta description based on our prompt and requirements, increment the counter, and then it checks the length of the meta description. If the length is correct, it's again pass it to Google Sheets. If not, it's going back and write the meta description again. And then I've set, I put this counter here where I increment the counter. So we don't want to just have an infinite loop. We want to stop it at one point. So like if there's a case where it cannot get the correct length like at all, we have to stop it. Otherwise it's going to be very expensive. So in this case, we just don't do anything. We just skip it. Here we probably want to record this somewhere in our system that, hey, this one, we had an issue with this, could not write the meta description. So maybe we just do it manually. But in my test, and I've done this quite a few times, it seems like OpenAI has gotten really good at writing text within a certain length. So and I've done many tests, and I have yet to experience one time where it did not fit within the length that I specified in the prompt. All right, and so for the product description that we wrote, let me just copy it into Shopify here. And then you can see here how it looks like. And we have, so this is based on the requirements that I've specified in the prompt, right? And then you can see here that we also have a link to a different product than this generator. So we have this generator, and you can see here that it will recommend another generator. So let me just try and see if this works. So we have the link here, and this I can pass over to my website here. So you can see here, it actually found this product that it recommends. So this is kind of an efficient way of creating some kind of an internal linking between products that is relevant to each other, where it simply just hooks into our search engine and then finds a similar product based on the product title in this example. So yeah, that's how it works. And for the next step, what I'm gonna add to this workflow is another node which will generate product features. So for example, in the example of a generator, we can get information about like the power of the generator, what kind of fuel, is it electric, does it use gas, diesel, and stuff like that. Get all these features of the product, and we can use that as filters on Shopify, making it easier for people to search for products in case we don't have this data already. And especially if you have a very large store with thousands of products, this can be a very big task to achieve if you're gonna do that manually. But actually using AI and using n8n, you can actually do this much faster than you would otherwise have done if you did it manually. You could also go and add a human step into it. So for example, an idea that I'm tinkering with now is I've added all the data here to my Google Sheets. I can do that for all the products. We could also go and actually have a manual check within our Google Sheet. For example, we add a checkbox here, and then if we check it, that means that it's approved, and then we're gonna have our workflow actually populating Shopify with this data. But that's the next step. So this is just an example of how you can create a workflow using the system here and automate a lot of the boring tasks that you might have in your Shopify store.